Imagine for a moment that the miracles of Jesus were not simply supernatural interruptions of nature, but the precise application of a sacred law of the universe. Think carefully. What if the method he used to heal the sick, to open the eyes of the blind, and even to raise the dead, was not hidden forever, but waiting silently in the echoes of divine sound? This is not just a poetic idea. This is a mystery carried through the ages by mystics, sages, and initiates who understood that sound is not merely vibration. It is the bridge between spirit and matter. In today's journey, we are going to uncover something that has been veiled for centuries, a method that does not belong exclusively to the past, but that can be awakened here and now. And let me tell you from the very beginning, the last revelation you will hear in this video is the most powerful of all. It has the potential to completely change the way you understand the miracles of Jesus and the very nature of reality itself. Before we begin, I invite you to become part of this exploration. Subscribe to this channel, leave your like, and share this video with those who are seekers of truth. Your engagement allows this wisdom to continue reaching more souls who are ready to awaken. Comment below your thoughts as we progress, because what you are about to discover is not just a teaching to be heard, but an experience that must be lived. Now let us return to the desert paths of Galilee, where Jesus walked among the poor and the broken, carrying not just words of comfort, but frequencies that pierced the very fabric of illness. Think of his voice, not just the content of his speech, but the vibration within it. Ancient traditions reveal that the word itself is creation. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. This is not a metaphor. According to esoteric philosophy, the word, or logos, represents the primal sound, the divine resonance from which the entire universe unfolded. Helena Blavatsky, the founder of the Theosophical movement, insisted that sound is a cosmic force, an invisible architecture shaping worlds and consciousness alike. She described the ancient doctrine of the Word made flesh as the key to understanding all miracles. When Jesus spoke, he did not use language in the way we use it daily. His voice carried the imprint of the divine logos, harmonizing the vibrations of those around him back to the pattern of wholeness. Think about it. When a body falls into disease, what is really happening? Modern science explains it as malfunction, infection, or imbalance. But ancient mysticism teaches that sickness is the result of disharmony, a distortion in the subtle frequencies of the human being. If this is true, then healing is not simply the removal of illness, it is the restoration of harmony. Jesus restored this harmony through sound, intention, and alignment with the divine source. Blavatsky wrote extensively about the lost chord of creation, a vibration that resonates at the heart of all things. She taught that mantras, sacred chants, and divine utterances are not symbolic rituals, but powerful instruments that retune the human soul. In the East, the Om is revered as the primordial sound, the eternal syllable from which everything arises. In the West, the Logos holds this same role. Could it be that when Jesus pronounced words of blessing, forgiveness, or command, he was consciously invoking this universal resonance? Imagine the scene. A man blind from birth is brought before him. There are whispers among the crowd, doubts and mockery. But Jesus kneels, touches the earth, and with a voice filled not with hesitation but with absolute authority, he speaks. In that instant, reality bends, not because he forced it, but because his voice aligned the broken vibration of the man's sight with the divine blueprint of perfection. What the world saw as a miracle was, in truth, the operation of a cosmic law, the law of sound restoring order to chaos. Now ask yourself, what if this same principle is still accessible today? What if the secret lies not in superstition, but in mastering the vibrational field of our own being? Could the words we speak, the tones we release, even the silences we hold, carry within them the power to heal, create, and transform? This is not fantasy. The greatest mystics of every culture have insisted on it. Pythagoras spoke of the music of the spheres, a celestial harmony that sustains the universe. The Egyptian priests used chants to awaken the hidden powers of the soul. The Vedic sages mapped entire systems of sound designed to heal both body and spirit. And Blavatsky herself declared that every sound is a symbol, and every symbol is a force. Pause for a moment and reflect. How do you use your own words? Are they scattered, reactive, unconscious? Or do they carry intention, resonance, and alignment with your highest truth? Comment below what you think about this. Could it be that the real miracle begins not when we wait for healing from outside, but when we learn to speak, to chant, to sound forth with the same awareness of divine vibration? Stay with me, because in the next part, we will dive even deeper into the hidden mechanics of divine sound. We will uncover the link between Jesus' method and the ancient science of sacred utterance preserved by the initiates. And remember, the last revelation we will reach together will be the most powerful of all, the one that could completely shift the way you live and the way you see your connection to the divine. Consider this. If sound is the key, then every miracle performed by Jesus was not random, but the deliberate use of an ancient and universal science. He did not invent this wisdom. He embodied it. The Essenes, the mystical community with which many scholars believe Jesus was associated, were known to preserve sacred knowledge drawn from Egypt, Babylon, and even the East. Among their preserved teachings were chants and invocations, vibrations that aligned man with the divine order. Now imagine walking into one of their gatherings, the air heavy with incense, voices rising in harmonic unison, not merely singing but resonating with purpose. This was no performance, it was medicine for the soul. In such circles, every syllable was considered holy, every tone a bridge between heaven and earth. Jesus grew in this environment, not only learning the scriptures, but learning the hidden music beneath them. Helena Blavatsky wrote that ancient adepts guarded these mysteries because misuse could distort reality itself. The same sound that can heal can also harm, depending on intention. That is why Jesus always framed his words within love, forgiveness, and alignment with the Divine Father. His sound was not just technical power, it was ethical purity fused with cosmic law. Without this purity of heart, no syllable, no chant, no word has transformative power. Think about the way Jesus called Lazarus from the tomb. He did not simply wish for Lazarus to return, he commanded, "Lazarus, come forth." Why such authority? Because his words were more than words. They were sound clothed in divine certainty. The tomb obeyed because sound has no barrier. It penetrates rock, darkness, even death itself. Lazarus rose because the vibration of Jesus' voice reconnected him to the pulse of life. Now reflect. What words do you speak into your own life daily? Are they words of resurrection, calling forth the better version of yourself, or are they words of despair that bury your spirit even deeper? This is where the hidden teaching becomes practical. The same principle is available to you. When you speak with faith, when your voice aligns with love and truth, your words cease being ordinary. They become creative forces that shape reality. Blavatsky pointed out that the universe itself is a symphony, and that every being, every soul contributes to the great chord of existence. When a person falls into dissonance, through fear, hatred, or separation, disease and suffering follow. Healing, then, is nothing less than tuning the instrument of the soul back into harmony with the universal chord. Jesus acted as the divine musician, striking the exact tone that brought every broken note back into alignment. Think of your body as a harp. Each organ, each cell is a string vibrating at its own pitch. If one string goes out of tune, the music is disturbed and illness arises. Now imagine the voice of Christ touching that string, restoring it instantly to perfect pitch. This is the essence of his healing. And even though he embodied it at the highest level, the principle is universal. You too are a musician of your own being. The sounds you release, the prayers you speak, the chants you utter, they are tuning forks for your soul. Let us connect this to modern discoveries. Science has confirmed that sound frequencies can influence matter. Experiments in cymatics show sand forming intricate patterns when exposed to specific tones, revealing that sound creates order. If grains of sand obey the law of vibration, how much more can the living cells of the human body respond to sound aligned with divine intention? This is not imagination, it is physics, harmonizing with spirituality. But there is a deeper level still. Jesus did not only heal by speaking words, sometimes he used silence. In silence there is also sound, inaudible to the ear, but resonant in the soul. Mystics teach that silence carries the unstruck sound, the eternal vibration of the universe before creation. When Jesus paused, when he looked with compassion without speaking, he was radiating this silent sound, transmitting healing without the need for syllables. Blavatsky referred to this as the voice of the silence, the soundless sound that only the awakened soul can perceive. She insisted that true initiation begins when one learns to hear this inner music, a vibration that flows from the highest planes of being. Perhaps this is why Jesus often withdrew to the mountains to pray. He was not escaping, but attuning himself to the silent song of the cosmos, returning with a resonance strong enough to heal multitudes. Now here is a question for you. Have you ever felt the power of sound in your own life? A chant that lifted your spirit? A song that healed a broken heart? Or even a single word spoken at the right moment that changed the course of your life? Reflect and share in the comments. By doing so, you are acknowledging that this divine method is not locked in the past. It is alive, vibrating even now, waiting for you to awaken to it. Stay with me, because in the next part we will uncover how the hidden wisdom of sacred sound was passed down through secret schools of initiation, and how Jesus himself was both a guardian and a revealer of this ancient method. And remember, the final revelation we will reach is the most powerful of all, one that could completely shift how you see the connection between sound, healing, and your own divine potential. To understand the depth of Jesus' method, we must travel further back into the hidden stream of wisdom traditions that prepared the way for his mission. The healing power of sound was not a discovery of the first century. It was a truth safeguarded for millennia, preserved by priesthoods, mystery schools, and secret brotherhoods who knew that sound is the key to creation itself. The Egyptians, for example, built their temples not only as places of worship, but as resonant chambers designed to amplify sacred chants. The priests of Egypt used intonations to awaken the divine forces within initiates. Archaeologists have uncovered chambers within the pyramids where acoustics were so perfect that a single tone could vibrate through the entire structure. Can you imagine what those chants must have sounded like when hundreds of voices filled the chamber, summoning the very harmonics of the universe? It is within such a lineage of sacred sound that Jesus was spiritually formed. Blavatsky emphasized that Jesus, during his hidden years, likely traveled and absorbed the wisdom of many cultures. Whether in Egypt, India, or among the Essenes in the deserts of Judea, he encountered the same universal teaching. That sound, when wielded with purity and intent, bridges the human and the divine. She wrote that every initiate must eventually master the creative word, for without it no true miracle is possible. Consider this. When Jesus healed, he often said, "Your faith has made you whole." At first glance, this appears to place the responsibility on the believer. But when viewed through the lens of sacred sound, it reveals a greater truth. Faith aligns the soul into receptivity, opening it to vibrational resonance. The sound released by Jesus found a vessel ready to harmonize. Without faith, the resonance met resistance, distortion, disbelief, and thus the miracle could not take root. The divine sound is always present, but it requires the human heart to be tuned, like an instrument, to receive it. Let us take a step into the Gospel of John, where Jesus declares, "The words that I speak unto you, they are spirit, and they are life." These are not mere poetic lines. Blavatsky explained that the word spirit itself can be traced to the breath, the pneuma, the life force carried on vibration. When Jesus spoke, his breath was not ordinary breath. It was imbued with the current of the Logos. His words were life because they carried the frequency of life itself. Think of this. The human body is made mostly of water, and modern science shows how water molecules shift patterns under different vibrations. Dr. Masaru Emoto's experiments, though controversial, offered a glimpse of what happens when sound and intention touch water. Beautiful crystalline forms under words of love, chaotic distortions under words of hatred. If simple words can shape water, and if your body is mostly water, imagine the impact of Jesus' divine sound upon the human form. His voice was like a tuning fork striking the waters of the body into perfect order. Have you noticed that in every culture, sacred sound is central? The Hebrew tradition carries the tetragrammaton, the unspeakable name of God, considered so powerful it could never be spoken lightly. In India, the eternal syllable Om resounds as the vibration of creation. In Tibet, mantras are chanted to align the soul with higher states of consciousness. Even the Native Americans use drums and chants to heal the spirit. Why this universal emphasis on sound? Because truth is always echoed in every tradition. Sound is the universal language of the soul. Now reflect. How do you relate to sound in your daily life? Not just music or speech, but silence, rhythm, tone. Do you realize that every word you utter is a thread weaving your reality? Comment your reflections. The greatest danger is that humanity has forgotten the sacredness of speech. Words have become cheap, scattered, and profane. But Jesus never wasted a single syllable. Every utterance was intentional, charged with divine resonance. Blavatsky warned that careless speech destroys more than it creates. The ancients trained disciples for years in silence before allowing them to utter a single sacred syllable. Why? Because once sound is released, it cannot be recalled. It shapes reality instantly. This is why Jesus said, "By your words you shall be justified, and by your words you shall be condemned." He was not speaking metaphorically. He was pointing to the law of vibration. Words create, words destroy, and words heal. Picture this scene. Jesus standing before a crowd, many of them sick, many broken in spirit. Instead of elaborate rituals, he speaks a few simple words. Yet those words vibrate with the authority of creation itself. The sick rise, the blind see, the lepers are cleansed. Not because he used magic, but because he aligned his sound with the eternal Logos. And the Logos reshaped reality through him. The simplicity of his method is what makes it so profound. Divine sound, pure intention, unwavering alignment. And here lies the mystery. You are not separate from this Logos. The same divine vibration that spoke through Jesus resonates within you. You may not raise the dead, but you can raise your own spirit from despair. You may not heal a blind man, but you can heal the blindness of your own heart. Every time you speak with love, every time you chant in alignment, every time you enter the silence and feel the soundless sound, you are touching the very method of Christ. But the greatest revelation is still ahead. In the final part of this journey, we will uncover the most powerful secret of all: how divine sound is not only a tool for healing, but the very essence of spiritual transformation. You will see that the method Jesus used is not locked in history. It is alive within you, waiting to be awakened. Throughout this journey, we have uncovered how Jesus' method of healing was rooted not in superstition, but in the universal law of divine sound. We have seen how his words carried the vibration of the Logos, how faith opened hearts to receive this resonance, and how traditions across the world testify to the sacred power of vibration. But now we arrive at the ultimate revelation. The secret of divine sound is not something external, it is within you. Helena Blavatsky, in her writings, emphasized that the true initiate must eventually recognize the Logos not as something outside in the heavens, but as the eternal vibration resonating in the depths of the soul. She called it the inner word, the living voice that speaks without syllables, the song of the higher self. Jesus demonstrated miracles not to make us worship him as unreachable, but to show what happens when the inner word is fully awakened and allowed to flow through a human life. Think about this carefully. If the divine sound created the universe and you are part of that creation, then that same sound is already alive within you. When Jesus said, "The kingdom of God is within you," he was pointing directly to this truth. The kingdom is not merely a place, it is a vibration, a frequency of consciousness that transforms everything it touches. The miracles were signs of what happens when a person aligns completely with this kingdom within. The final key is realization. Divine sound is not learned like a technique. It is remembered like an ancient song your soul has always known. You have heard it in moments of deep stillness, when your heart beats in rhythm with something greater than yourself. You have felt it in moments of awe, watching the ocean, gazing at the stars, or standing in silence before beauty that words cannot touch. That trembling recognition is the inner Logos, whispering through your soul. But here lies the challenge. Most people live surrounded by noise, both external and internal. Their minds are filled with chaotic chatter, their speech spills forth without intention, and their inner instrument remains untuned. This is why silence is sacred. In silence, you begin to hear the subtle resonance beneath all things. In silence, you rediscover the voice of the Logos within, and once heard, this voice begins to shape your words, your presence, and your life with divine power. Let us return once more to Jesus. Notice that before his greatest acts, he withdrew to pray in solitude. This was not weakness, it was alignment. He attuned himself to the eternal vibration, and then he returned, carrying that resonance into the world. When he healed, when he spoke, it was not merely his human voice but the echo of the divine word through him. This is the invitation extended to you, to become a vessel through which divine sound can heal, transform, and create. Now let us make this practical. Begin by observing your words. Every word you speak is a seed. Are your words filled with life, or do they carry poison? Speak blessings, not curses. Speak harmony, not discord. With each word, you are either weaving yourself closer to the divine vibration or moving further away. Secondly, explore sacred sound. Chant a word of power, pray aloud with sincerity, or simply hum a tone that resonates in your chest. Feel how it shifts your state of being. And finally, seek silence. In silence, the eternal sound reveals itself, not as something you make, but as something you hear. The most powerful revelation is this: divine sound is the essence of who you are. You are not just a seeker of vibration, you are vibration itself. Your soul is a note in the eternal symphony, and when you align with that truth, miracles become natural. Healing flows not as an act of will, but as the harmony of being. This was the method of Jesus. This was the wisdom Blavatsky insisted was hidden beneath the surface of Scripture. And this is the invitation extended to you now. Awaken the inner word, live in harmony with the divine sound, and let your very life become a healing presence in the world. So, I ask you, are you ready to listen differently, to speak differently, to live as an instrument of the Logos? Comment below with your reflections, because your journey is not passive. You are part of this unfolding revelation. Share this message with others who are seeking, because divine sound is not meant to be locked away. It is meant to resonate, to echo, to multiply. And remember this always. The miracles of Jesus were not meant to show us what he alone could do, but to reveal what is possible when a human being fully aligns with divine sound. The greatest miracle is not outside. It is the transformation of your soul into harmony with the eternal word. This is the truth hidden in plain sight, the wisdom preserved by the ancients, the key that can heal not only the body, but the spirit and the world itself. Thanks for looking.